The QMJHL kicks off this week. Blue Jays fans want to playoff baseball. Well, it's here. Big week in the NFL. It's Sports QuaranTV. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Sports QuaranTV. Chris Dobson and Gerry Green coming at you in your living rooms. It is Thursday, September 30th, and we want to recognize that day specifically. As you see, Gerry and I are wearing our orange shirts very proudly. It's the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. We support them by wearing our orange shirts. We're very excited to be doing that. We've got a great show lined up, Gerry. We got a lot to talk about. The QMJHL kicks off this week. The Major League Baseball is going into an absolute tangent. The last week before we set in there, the NFL was huge. And of course, as always, we're going to do the wrap. But let's start with the QMJHL right off the hop. Let's get a bit of a preview. I mean, what are you thinking? I mean, how do you think the Maritime Division is going to look this year?
Well, Chris, the only other discussions we've had on the Q have been about the St. John Sea Dogs. And of course, they're going to be hosting the Memorial Cup. So they have to be the team to beat. And they should be. I mean, you look at them on paper, they've got all the ingredients to be dominant in the Maritime Division. They have all the ingredients to be a contender for the President's Cup. And it all starts with the crop of 19-year-olds that have grown up together playing with the Sea Dogs, and the added Ryan Francis last year, Christopher Innes on the blue line are two of the 20-year-olds. And then you throw in the goaltender, Jonathan Lemieux, who just came from Val-d'Or, who just played in the championship series. And unfortunately for the Foyer, they did not beat the Victoriaville Tigers. But you've got all the experience. You've got guys that know each other very well. And you've got offense on the defense. You've got lots of offense up front. And, of course, they added that Sapelnikov, their import, who they feel very high about too. So for me, it's all St. John. I think Bathurst has done some great things too. And Charlottetown, you can never not consider them. They're my top three, I think, in the Maritime Division heading in.
I like the Charlottetown Islanders. I like everything. You look at what Jim Halton's built there, and everything to me is fine except the goaltending situation there. I've been looking at it. I mean, they talk about Jacob Gooby. This is going to be Jacob Gooby's team. I mean, look at the two guys Gooby's had in front of him for the last 2 years as far as mentorship goes. I mean, first you go from Matthew Welsh, you have him in net. Okay. And then they go ahead and they acquire Colton Ellis, and he comes on in. So at that point, Jacob Gooby couldn't have asked for two better mentors. Now they went ahead and they acquired their import, who just came back from NHL camp as well. So now the question is how does that confidence level look for Jacob Gooby? I mean, at that point, you go from the starter to now possibly being 1B. And it looks like they're going to try to go similar to what Montreal did with Jake Allen and Carey Price. They're going to try to go 1A, 1B versus a starter and a backup. They're going to try to give each other the same starts. But they've got a great blue line, of course, led by Vegas Golden Knights prospect Lucas Cormier. Brett Budgell, this is still his team. He'll captain this team as well. Offensively, they're going to be fun. They're always going to be gritty. And I mean, Gerry, how many times have we talked about, the Charlottetown Islanders being a Jim Halton type team? And, I'll be curious to see how it comes together.
Yeah, even with question marks at who's going to be their starting goaltender, Chris, you talked about it. They've got a great defensive core. Not only are they great defensively, you throw Noah Lowen in there and Trudeau, who they picked up in a trade, and Luca Cormier. They're very good at protecting in front of those goaltenders. So that'll be a key factor for the Islanders. And then you look at the Bathurst Titan, and you've got Riley Kidney, who was just drafted. Cole Huckins has been just drafted. And they add Henrik Lapierre. And that's the interesting part for me, Chris. If you look at his numbers, he's been injured a lot of his career. Now he is drafted, and he has a great upside. And he's going to find a new home on the North Shore. So that'll be intriguing to see what he will do there. They still got the tandem, and again, goaltending important in the division. They still have the tandem of Bednar and Chad Arsenault coming back again for another year. So those are the three at tops. But if you look at the other New Brunswick team in the Moncton Wildcats, Chris, Vincent Filion is going to carry a big load in net if we're going to talk goaltending again. And who knows how long Philip Daoud is going to be around. You got Loshing getting another year under his belt. And what have you heard about Jonas Tabel, the import from Austria? What kind of impact can he have?
You could tell, I mean, he's trying to get accustomed to the smaller ice surface. He's trying to get, I mean, he's going to be fine. he looked exactly the way Barbashev did when he first got here last year. I mean, there's an entire culture change when you come to a place like Moncton from where you're from.
Yeah.
So yeah, and he's young. He'll be fine. He's going to be absolutely I think he's going to be a great player for this Wildcats organization. The player that I'm really curious about, that I'm really hoping to see step up this year, is Mathis Cloutier. A lot of people have been talking about his foot speed and what he's been working on, but he seems like the kind of guy who, when it's all said and done, he's a guy you want from your team. And I think the expectations were set too high from a fan perspective. Because remember, Jeremy, Mathis Cloutier was the key player piece part of the Jacob Peltier trade when he came back. So a lot of people set the expectation, well, if this guy's coming back for Jacob Peltier, he's going to be a superhero. So, I mean, it's a lot of pressure to put on a kid.
Yeah. And I'm really curious to see what Maxime Barbashev could do. I think from what we saw from the 20 or so games we saw from last year, maybe even 25 games, he quickly got baptized. He was quickly on the scoreboard. I think the first game, he scored 2 goals. And I think he's a real force. And I think the short little schedule and then a chance to regroup and get ready for training camp will be beneficial for him. I'm thinking that he might have one of those seasons, but I really don't know.
He's going to have to.
Yeah, what Moncton's going to do. Will they be a 500 club, Chris? They surprised us at times last year with the lineup they had, with all the injuries they had. You remember that? Daoud missed a great big chunk of the season after they came back in March. So, I just feel like Dan Lacroix can sometimes have them all pulling in one direction, all for one and one for all. And that's a big part of hockey.
And you're absolutely right. It is a big part of hockey. But one thing you're missing, and one key piece you're missing, is during this rebuild, they had a leader. They had Jacob Hudson.
Yeah.
You take a guy like that out of your lineup, Jerry, and I'm sorry. And like, to me, I look at the Wildcats, and maybe I'm wrong, and I hope I'm wrong. But to me, they took a step backwards. I don't, as far as 500, but plus don't forget, the season's wide open. They're going to Quebec. They're playing all the teams in the Maritime Division.
Yeah.
They're not going to beat St. John. They're not going to beat Bathurst. They're not going to beat Charlottetown. Until the trade period kicks in at Christmas time, they'll struggle against Halifax. With Desnoyers and Leroux down in Halifax right now, which both those two guys are going to get the call. I mean, Leroux is obviously going to be the higher value because he'll be back in the queue next year. Desnoyers won't. Cape Breton's the only team I think they'll consistently beat all season long in the Maritime Division. So no, truthfully, I hope they do. I hope I'm wrong. But right now in my predictions, I've got Moncton finishing, 15, 16 in the league.
Yeah, it's interesting when you look at Halifax's lineup. They've got some good pieces coming back, including Cameron Wynot on the blue line. But they've got, I think Brady James is in net, and Brady's never been a number one guy. And you look at Cape Breton, the other Nova Scotia team, both of those goaltenders have never been number one guys. So goaltending is important to me. Yep. If you have a team that's growing or rebuilding or whatever the case may be. And the Maritime Division has interesting goaltending, starting with St. John on the top. So the other team, Chris, that certainly was vying for the Memorial Cup, the Quebec Ramparts, have to be considered one of the strong teams elsewhere. I thought from my research, Shawinigan and Gatineau looked like they could be teams, because in junior hockey, the teams that are at the top can change from year to year, as we've seen many times.
Oh, without a doubt. The only thing I like, as far as you talk about Quebec, and of course, yes, where they just unfortunately didn't win the bid to host the Memorial Cup. They showed their cards early. They made their acquisitions early. They don't have a whole lot of gas left in the tank or assets left to trade. I mean, Patrick Waugh, he'll get tricky. He'll figure something out. He'll make a couple moves, but all his big moves have already been made. As far as Shawinigan goes, yeah, you're absolutely right. They're going to look great. The teams that I think, you got to look at your big homos of the world. I mean, they're not going to finish well. Val d'Or's, after they sell off everything, once Robidas is gone, I mean, they've moved everybody else out. Those are your guys. So those are the two teams that I have finishing below Moncton in the standings. I've got, Val d'Or, Baie-Comeau going last.
Give me glass half full. Give me half full rather than half empty.
All right.
Do you see? Do you like what Gatineau's done? And Gatineau's going to go into a new rink. That's what excites me about them. And
absolutely.
I think they've been acquiring all those draft picks, and what did they have, 3 or 4 picks in the first round? Yep. Just a season ago, or even this past off season. So there's big things coming ahead for them, I think, and it'd be exciting to go into a new rink.
But yeah, and you're not wrong. But you got to remember, some other teams about to acquire 3 first-round picks too, because St. John's got 3 of them to deal. So, I mean, it'll be curious to see where they're going. And it wouldn't shock me if Trevor's knocking on the door about Elliot Desnoyers, or if he's knocking on the door to Val d'Or about Robidas. Those are two guys. But again, the Mem Cup's in the QMJHL this year, so the asking price is going to be astronomical.
Yeah, I think if anything, I think the price would be too high for Leroux. I think Desnoyers would be a good fit on any team, and especially on St. John. He might be that guy, that stabilizer that can be put in any part of the lineup and be effective. He can be on a number one line. He can be on the third line and check somebody to death. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see what they do down the stretch. Yeah.
I fully agree with the Zach Leroux piece, only because he's got another year left in the queue. The asking price will be astronomical.
So young, yes.
Yeah. To me, so let me ask you this before we move on. If you're a team right now and you have an option, depending on what the asking price is, who do you think will cost more, Justin Robidas or Elliot Desnoyers?
Well, again, you know what? If it's St. John doing the shopping, they know Desnoyers, right. So I would take him over Robidas. Just because you're more familiar with what Elliot Desnoyers can do because you've seen him so many more times. So if that, right. I think that's the guy that St. John should.
But you don't think the asking price is going to be higher because he's in the division?
Oh, yeah. Geez, Chris, I don't know about that. I don't know the inner workings about how that all works. Yeah, you don't want to trade with people in your division. Is that what you're saying? So the price is going to be higher.
Do it, but you're going to pay more.
Okay.
Anyways, let's move on because I want to talk about baseball because that.
But just quickly, Chris, before you do that, the season opens up tonight. Shawinigan plays in Victo because Victo, of course, won the championship. Moncton and Bathurst start on October 1st, which is Friday, which there's 9 games on that night, and the Islanders are in St. John also on Friday.
Hockey is here, baby. Hockey is here. So let's go on. Let's talk about Major League Baseball. The AL race is heating up to a point where you wanted fun baseball in September. Well, you couldn't ask for better ball right now.
Yeah, it's a shame that the wild card game, if you get there, is just a 1 game extra that you're going to play. You're going to play 163 games. One team is, and then the other team's going to move on. But here you have that series this week with the Yankees and the Blue Jays. 3 games that can really have an effect on who's going to get a wild card spot. Because it appears that the Red Sox, who have a spot right now, have the easier schedule with your Baltimores and your Washington Nationals. That's a given. They should win on those games. And so then Toronto and the Yankees. And look out! Don't think Seattle's out of it yet either, because they're right there, game behind in the fight for it. The interesting thing for me would be, what if there's a tie? What if there's a 3-way tie for that final wild card spot? That would be fun. And I don't even know what the criteria is to break that tie.
That is a great question. And I don't know it. I was actually trying to research it before we started recording tonight, because I was curious how that was going to look. I know, like, if it came down to, another tie, like from a 3-way, I don't know if it's, head-to-head records. I'm just not sure. I don't know how it works out.
So it's going to be fun. I like the fact that the government has allowed the Blue Jays to have 30,000 people maximum inside the Rogers Center, the Roger Dome, whatever. Is it called the Rogers Dome?
The Rogers Center.
The Rogers Center.
Should be the Rogers
So that'll be
Dome,
fun.
Yeah.
And I think, in that series versus Minnesota, the bats, look at the pitching can be the pitching for the Blue Jays, but the bats have to be performing. If they're not performing, you're putting a lot of strain on your starting pitching. I mean, Robbie Ray has been terrific. I mean, he doesn't give up more than 1 or 2 runs, but that's when you need your bats to explode, and take it easy on him, because he's been in pressure situations. I'd have to say in the month of September, every game he's in is tight. The Blue Jays don't seem to explode when he's on the mound. And the guy's vying for a Cy Young. And, I really think you look at the numbers, you put them side by side with supposedly Garrett Cole of the Yankees, who's the other runner, the other suspect in regards
supposedly? What do you mean?
Supposedly.
An unreal season.
Well, isn't Robbie Ray having an unreal season?
Yes, you're not wrong, but to say supposedly when talking about Garrett Cole.
Well, doesn't there more innings? Doesn't Robbie Ray have more innings pitched? There's a number of things that Robbie Ray has more of than Garrett Cole, and they seem to. And I haven't really delved into other American League pitchers that could possibly be in a Cy Young running, but they seem to just throw Cole's name in there all the time, just like, well,
everybody's
won
lucky
it before.
Chris Sale decided to take half the season off.
Well, there you go.
He just wanted to give everyone a head start.
But yeah, so anyways, the offense has to be there for the Blue Jays if they're going to have any success. Their pitching has been good, and their bullpen has improved as the season's gone along. but they need that offense. And you know what? Again, talking about the most valuable player, you know, Tani versus Guerrero. Just one thing I wanted to bring up watching Vlad play, and of course he's playing a new position at first base, and at the start of the season maybe a little bit questionable, but his hands have got real good. And I saw him track down a ball in the foul territory the other day, and I said he's as nimble as a cat, and we do not talk enough about the defense that he plays.
Right. And actually, talking about Ohtani, did you see the news when he came out during his press conference talking about, they'd asked him in regards to, you know, his thoughts on, you know, how everything went. And all he said was, I just want to win. So now a lot of people are speculating that he wants to get away from LA, wants to stop playing with the Angels. Man, Twitter blew up. Everyone was tagging the Jays in it, be like, pay the man, pay the man, pay the man. Wouldn't it be something else to see Ohtani leave?
Yeah, I can't blame him. And the experts say that there's no hope. There's no hope in the near future for what the Angels have coming up through the system, and what kind of drafting system and what kind of minor league system they have to make them better. Then what do they go out and spend money? Can they afford to spend money? They still have Trout in the lineup.
No, and you're absolutely right. One more question before we move on to that too. I want to ask right now. I know I've asked it before, but right now, as it stands today, has your World Series favorite changed?
No, I think it's still the Dodgers.
Yep.
San Francisco has been a surprise for me all season long.
Houston's still playing well.
Watching, yes, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, there's only 3 players I think left from that Houston team from 2017 that won the championship. But the more I saw of Tampa Bay here in the last few weeks with the Blue Jays playing them, they got no names that I know of, but they get the job done, and they're still doing that stupid old analytics that they love to play down there in Tampa, and take them out when they're supposed to take them out like clockwork and put a reliever in. But they've got some great arms, and for them it's more about defense than it is offense, and they've got some great pitching staff in Tampa. So I still have them there too.
Yeah, I agree with you. I still take the Dodgers. I think the Dodgers go back to back. That's my prediction as well.
Look at their lineup, Chris, just on arms alone, and they've got a Price in the bullpen. Do they? Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. No, the Dodgers to me. But again, like I said, that's the best part about baseball is as long as you get hot come October, it doesn't matter. Anything's possible.
Well, do you see what the Cardinals are doing? The Cardinals are going to take the second wild card spot in the National League, because either the Dodgers or the Giants are going to be the other team, and they have to play a 1-game showdown. But here they are on a wicked winning streak, and have really pulled away from everybody. And they're having a great deal of fun. And you know what? I really do not like the St. Louis Cardinals. I've never liked them, and I don't like to see them win. I want to see Milwaukee do well. I'd love to see the NBA and the Major League Baseball, the World Series championship, go to Milwaukee. Wouldn't that be something? Small market team winning those 2 major championships.
Imagine Milwaukee comes away with the NBA title and a World Series trophy. I think they'd burn the city to the ground. All right, Jerry, let's move on. NFL, crazy week 3. A lot of storylines here. Starting with let's go with the Bucs. The Bucs losing.
Well, the Bucs losing, and it wasn't close, Chris. I mean, Matthew Stafford was effective, threw 4 touchdown passes, threw for 343 yards. But what they did very well was the Rams got the lead, and they never gave it up. I think Tampa did come back to tie it at one point, but it was no rushing from the Tampa Bay. It was all in the arm of Brady, who threw 55 times. And they did a good job rushing him and sacking him. And the Rams did everything in that beautiful facility they have there in LA that they share with the Chargers. That's where the Super Bowl is going to be, by the way, too. What a great facility, and what a great highlight game for the week. And the Rams really showing that they are the team to contend with.
Yeah, the Rams are for real, and anybody who didn't think they were now they've got them on notice now. Another couple big games that happened this week too. I mean, if you look at Kansas City is now 1-2, first time they're below a 500 record since I think 2015. That was a little shocking for me. And then of course the Green Bay 49ers game was also an exciting one.
Well, that KC game, they really only hurt themselves. They had 2 interceptions and 2 fumbles at key times. And here, those Chargers, I like the Chargers. I like Justin Herbert. He threw for another just 281 yards, but 4 touchdowns. But the Chargers get into pay dirt in the red zone, and they commit these offensive line penalties, like illegal motion and or offside, whatever the case may be. And they had 2 more scores taken back by penalty this week, and they still managed to win against KC. But what I've seen that Baltimore did against Kansas City and what's LA, the Chargers did against Kansas City, is gamble late in the game on 4th downs because you don't want Mahomes to get the ball with time left on the clock. And don't you think now the 49ers know about that? Don't you think the 49ers know about not letting an all-star MVP type quarterback have time left on the clock when you had the lead? And so that's what the Chargers did against Kansas City, and that's what Baltimore did against Kansas City. Late in the game, they gambled on 4th down plays so that they could keep the ball and not give it to Mahomes. Okay? And you know my pet peeve about prevent defense, all it does is prevent you from winning, and that's what happened with San Francisco. They got the lead late. There was 37 seconds left, Chris, and they're playing way back at the 50-yard line, and Rodgers is completing these 30-yard passes, and bang, he's right there for a field goal. Unbelievable. I hate prevent defense.
Last thing I want to talk about the NFL, of course, is the big news coming up this weekend. Tom Brady returns to Foxborough as Tampa Bay heads in to go head-to-head with your New England Patriots, my friend. What are you thinking about this, man? Do you have mixed emotions?
No, it's going to be a celebration. I think the New England fans love Tom Brady.
I would hope so.
And he gets a chance to break the record that was set by Drew Brees in 2018. Drew Brees throws for over 80,000 yards. Exactly. Brady's at 80,291. He needs 61 yards to break the record. And Chris, I really do think, just like when Brees set the record in New Orleans, I think the New England people will stop and celebrate with Brady, and maybe a little bit more than you would think for a guy from a visiting team coming to New England. I really think that might happen.
I fully agree with you too, and I think he is going to get the biggest of, as rightfully deserved. You know, basically helped and saved to turn that franchise around.
And it could be easy early in the game too, Chris. I mean, he could have 68 yards in the first quarter. You don't know.
Oh, easily. If you don't think that's going to Gronk, you're out of your mind. Anyways, we've got a little over 2 minutes to go, Jerry. I still want to talk about the Ryder Cup before we hit to the wrap. What'd you think of the Ryder Cup? How awesome was it?
I love the Ryder Cup. I love the fact that DeChambeau and the lad, what's his name? The bully. Kopka.
Brooks Koepka.
Yeah. Shake it out or hug it out, so to speak. I found it was odd that they had hoodies on in the round on Saturday. What golfer wears a hoodie, especially in that wind and the hoodie's blowing up against the back of them? The dominance of the young Americans. Take a look how young they all are and how old the Europeans were. There was a real imbalance there, and the fact that you can see pro players make mistakes, because with Ryder Cup you could be having a bad day, and we get to see it all. When you watch a regular tournament, of course, you're seeing the top 10 or top 15 that are playing well on that particular day. But here in the Ryder Cup, you're exposed that if you're having a bad day, everybody's going to see it.
I thought only on the East Coast where you shotgun and beers on the first tee box. Apparently I was wrong.
Yes.
Apparently that happens as a pro too. So I felt
he was a star. Thomas was a star for sure.
Absolutely. But overall, I mean, this has to be one of the favorite tournaments of the year, like just from an entertaining standpoint.
And did you notice it was the 2020 Ryder Cup? Because, of course, they're supposed to have that. And then they got the President's Cup coming up again. Oh, no, for enthusiasm. And you saw at the end of the event, Rory McIlroy finally got a point for his team, and how devastated he was that he didn't play better for his team. And it brought him to tears. It was that's how emotional it is for these guys. It's not about money. It's about pride in your country and in the area you represent. And he was emotional, and that's why the crowds get into it, and that's why the players get into it.
I absolutely. In fact, I wish more tournaments were a little bit more like that. Let the fans get involved. I mean, have a good time with it. But no, I agree. I like Rory a lot too. He's probably one of my favorite golfers currently on tour, but I've liked him for a long time. But overall, I love your thoughts. I love your takes. I love your opinions. But we know what time of the week it is, Jerry. It is time.
Let's go
for the wrap, and we're going to get right into it. MHL season gets underway this week. How excited are you about that?
The Maritime Hockey League handed out a trophy last year to the Fredericton Red Wings, who won the Northern Division of the MHL. Of course, COVID shut everything down for PEI Nova Scotia in the league. It opens up tonight on two fronts, and then there's 4 games on Friday, 4 games on Saturday, and then those Fredericton Red Wings play on Sunday afternoon against Grand Falls. It's great hockey, folks. If you get a chance to go out and see it, especially in the capital city, get the opportunity and go out and see the MHL in your neck of the woods. Chris, the NHL is supposedly going to crack down on cross-checking?
Supposedly is a great way to put it. I know at least it's going to happen for the first couple of weeks. But yes, after some discussions going on, after some meetings, the National Hockey League has decided they're going to implement and watch very closely and get more aggressive in calling penalties involved in the cross-check. I even joke around and say this is a Habs fan. I thought Shea Weber probably should have taken a couple last year. But at the same time, we're old school, Jerry. We've been watching hockey a long time, and those little cross checks to clear the crease just to make sure your goaltender can see it. That was fair game back then. Nobody really knew exactly what to expect, but they are going to monitor the stick work. And, I'm just curious as to how long it's going to stick for, because sometimes we've seen them say, hey, we're going to keep an eye on this. And then all of a sudden, a month into the season, they've let it slide again. But overall, hey, I'm not the guy making the rules. I'm just excited that hockey is here. Let's get into the CFL. CFL is well underway. What are you thinking now?
Yeah, Green with his CFL wrap-up, because I love the CFL. I love football, Canadian and American football. And the Canadian football is usually a gunslinger's type of, with the bigger field and the bigger end zone and all that sort of stuff. But the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, who lead the league at a 6-1 record, are showing that defense is going to win some games. They're only allowing 14 points per game, Chris. They've been the cream of the crop thus far, leading the Western Division. Always enjoy watching CFL football. Friday nights is especially a good night to watch some CFL football. Tune it in if you can. Meanwhile, Chris, the Brady's, it was the Monday Night Football with the Mannings, which I found very entertaining. What about you?
Absolutely. I think the only thing the Mannings don't have under their belt right now is an Emmy, and I think this is why they're doing what they're doing. So overall, you talk about how entertaining it was, and it was so exciting to watch the Mannings get involved and talk throughout the whole game, and they're in their own separate studios while they're doing it. Really interesting take. I love when they had guests on. They had Pat McAfee on last week. Thought it was really cool for perspective. Plus, you get to see Peyton break down every quarterback and every move he makes. I love it. I hope they keep doing it. I wish we could do something like that, maybe with the Q sometime. Who knows? We'll stick around. But anyways, Jerry, it's been another great episode. I appreciate your time, my friend. I love talking sports with you. I can't wait to do it next Thursday. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We will see you next week.